Facebook world, top of the morning to you. Let me get set up here. Facebook world, top of. There we go. All right. How we doing this morning? Ella Sheba, Tim Fields, good morning, brother. Good morning, sis. All right. Today we got something in store for you today, man. We've never done this on Talking Money in the Morning Live, so I'm excited. We've got a love engineer in the building today, y'all. So we're gonna talk relationships, but of course, you know, this is Phenomenal Female Entrepreneur Speaker Series. This young lady happens to be a phenomenal entrepreneur as well, but she is a love engineer, a relationship expert. So we're gonna have some fun with that this morning. So I'm not gonna delay because I'm ready to get it on, man. So let me set up the intro and get us going on Periscope, and let's go ahead and make it do what it do, as they say. Here we go. All right, here we go. Let's go here. Yes. Put the hip shit on the shelf, cause the way the real web is being real myself. But I haven't seen the glory of the government of the left. I can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for help. It's time to switch it up, put the hip shit on the shelf, cause the way the real web is being real myself. But I haven't seen the glory of the government of the left. I can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for help. Money. I just not wrong with being wealthy. Like Kanye West said, having money is not everything, not having it is. No, Deuteronomy 8:18 says God gives us the ability to create wealth. No, it's the love of money that's wrong. You know, with money so much, why you get up and go to work? Yeah, I do think about one of the things that we think you got to say. I'm just trying to leave a legacy for money. It's not everything, but when you got it, you can do some cool stuff. And now, your host for Talking Money in the Morning, financial health mentor to the working class, Mr. Good morning, and welcome to Talking Money in the Morning Live with your main man, Ace Cortez, the one and only financial health mentor to the Black community, everybody's favorite fatherpreneur, where I do my absolute best to bring practical, proven wealth building strategies to working men and women all over this great nation of ours. It is truly an honor, privilege, and a blessing to be coming to you live from the Desserts and Discussions studio here in St. Louis, Missouri. If you're not familiar with Dessert and Discussions, that is something put together by my very, very special guest today to encourage real dialogue and conversation between men and women about how the opposite sexes view and feel about relationships. At some point, we've got to get down to the nitty gritty and be honest and open enough so that we can create amazing relationships. And this young lady is someone who's going to be able to teach you how to do it. So do me a huge favor. If you're checking us out on Periscope, go ahead and invite your followers to come check us out. You want to learn a thing or two about creating amazing relationships and lasting relationships. You definitely want to get your people on. Maybe you need to share it with your boo, right? I don't know. And for you guys on YouTube, do me the same favor. I know you're not watching this live, but you're watching the recording. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed, and then go ahead and share the link on your favorite social media timeline, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you like to share links. Share this link because this is going to be a fun show today. And then for my Facebook peeps, go ahead and share this on your timeline. Invite some people. Get ready for some questions and answers about relationships, man. Do me a huge favor, the likes, hearts, and thumbs up, that means something in the Facebook world. So the more you do that, the more you let Facebook know that we have a popping show so that we can compete with some of the ratchetness that is out there. That's how Facebook determines whether or not they will push our show out to 10 people or 10,000 people. as we go live in each and every morning. And for those of you who do not know and you're new to the show, I'd like to let you know exactly who this show is for. This show is for risers and grinders only. It's for those who are ready to get up, get out, and get something this morning. If that's you, this is your show. This show is for legacy builders. If you, like me, before I lay down every night, I'm asking myself, what am I going to do tomorrow, the next week, the next month, the next year, to make sure my children's children are proud to bear my last name? If that is you, this is your show. On the other hand, who is the show not for? The show is not for those no-getters out there. You know, those one who's got a problem for every solution. If that's you, this ain't your show. You can tune out, exit stage left, right? This show is not for the person who's got that problem with money, where you think money is evil, capitalism is a dirty word. You think wealthy people are snobs. How dare you get off my stream, because everybody on this stream is extremely, extremely, extremely wealthy, right? And we talk about wealth versus riches because there is a difference. Now, like I tell you each and every morning, if you've never seen a future billionaire before, I want you to take a screenshot. Jeez, and watch me work. 2027 is going down. I'm not only bold enough to proclaim that I'm a billionaire in the making, but I put a date on that thing. Because if you don't put a date on it, then it's just a wish, a hope, and a fantasy. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. One quick announcement, guys. If you are not joined or have not joined the Black Wealth Movement yet, you are missing out. The Black Wealth Movement is specific for those people who want to take their finances to another level. We're going to teach you tax minimization strategies. We're going to teach you debt elimination strategies. We're going to teach you credit education strategies. We're going to teach you asset accumulation strategies. And we're going to teach you how to do this all within entrepreneurship, so that you can generate income streams off the things that you love and the things that you are passionate about. Measly $35 per month to join our membership, literally $1.17 per day. If you are struggling to build wealth, if you are struggling to find people of like minds to run with, to hold you accountable, to help you do these things, then the Black Wealth Movement is something that you want to check out. Simply text me the keyword Black Wealth Movement to 314-874-6887, or go to blackwealthmovement2017.com to learn more about this wonderful collaboration of people who are committed to bringing financial literacy to the Black community for the purpose of economic empowerment and community development. Now, all of that stuff is out of the way. Let's have some fun this morning, y'all. We've got the love engineer herself in the building. I got a wonderful chance to meet this young lady as we shared a panel over the weekend, and we talked about relationships and entrepreneurship. Can they go hand in hand? Should they go hand in hand? And we had some fun conversation and dialogue, and this woman's wit and her personality and her attitude about love, relationships, and life in general was just refreshing. And I wanted to get her on the show and present her to you guys and have her share some of her expertise with you. So that's exactly what we have going on this morning. So without further ado, I want to introduce to some and present to others Miss Love Engineer herself, Miss Alex Merritt. So it looks like your camera has flipped on us. So if you can get it back upright, that would be amazing. There we go. So Miss Alex Merritt, Love Engineer, do us a huge, huge favor and tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and how did you find yourself as a love engineer?
Hey, gorgeous. Thank you so much for having me on. What an honor. So thank you so much. It's funny, the story. So I am an engineer by degree. And so let's start there. So I have a mechanical engineering degree. And like most engineers, we're on a mission to solve problems. And we're fantastic at doing such. We look at problems differently the way most people see them. And so taking my engineering background and thinking about relationships and the challenges that they presented, I was like, there has to be a better way to understand how to have great relationships than this trial, error, and observation approach that many people take, that more importantly, the society is like okay with us taking. And so nobody has a clue, but we're just winging it. And I was like, there has to be another way. And so in my own relationships, and one of the things that when I was in engineering school, I actually, my college roommate was a guy. and we were strictly friends. And then throughout that time, I started to realize that some of the challenges we were having as roommates, like who's going to take out the trash and why it's overflowing, and those challenges that he and I were having were the same challenges that I heard of friends who were having, who were in, were married, or, challenges I was having with, relationships that I had been in. I was like, wait a minute, this isn't about marital status. This is about gender dynamics. So that's how I found myself as the love engineer. I just took the principles I had learned about problem solving and how to think through cause and effect, and started to look for the cause and effect relationships that impact relationships between men and women.
Yeah, so that's interesting that you said it's not really about a relationship status. It's just about the X and Y chromosome, right? It's men and women just are different. That's what attracts us one to another. But those differences makes it a little bit difficult for us to get along sometimes, especially to be intimate and truly open and honest with one another and all that kind of stuff. So as a love engineer, what is one of the things that you get asked the most when it comes to people trying to figure out how to do relationships right?
I think there's a couple things that come up. So depending on if you're married or single, right? So single people are trying to figure out how to get somebody. And that's probably the number one thing is like, what do men want or what do women want? So there's a lot of questions about what is it that I need to do to attract the opposite sex? And when it's married people, they're trying to figure out how do we, get to death do us part without killing each other. And so they are really trying to understand, like, how do we keep the love alive? How do we stay connected? Because again, that initial spark, you're like, okay, got it. But, all those little things start to break it down over time that start to pull you and push you away from your partner. And so it just depends on what somebody's current marital status is. It depends on what questions they'll ask. Exactly.
And how much fun has this been for you to sit down and have these conversations with men and women and this open dialogue about, I'm sure this got to be some of the most funnest work on the planet, right?
Like when I tell you, I look up and I'm like, God, how did I get to be this person? Thanks, right? So I appreciate that I didn't get the Harriet Tubman assignment. I got the love engineer assignment. That's been delightful. And so it has taken me all over the country. And like I said, I have a natural curiosity about it and always have. So before I knew I was a love engineer, I had questions, as I like to say. And so it has been phenomenal to be able to talk to people, like I said, all over the United States, all over the world, in fact. So I've been to 15 countries, and every country I go to, so whether I'm in Dallas or Dubai, whether I'm in Indiana or Israel, it's amazing to see the connections and the commonalities between gender dynamics, no matter where I am on Earth.
So wait a minute, you mean to tell me that wherever you go on this planet, everybody's got the same core 4, 5, 6 relationship problems when men and women are trying to make relationships happen? So talk about some of those fundamental problems that arise that really prevent men and women from getting to that intimate space one with another so that they can build those amazing relationships that you try to construct. Yep.
And so as a love engineer, we don't call them problems, we call them challenges, right? So, because challenges give you an opportunity to become better than you were when you started. And so one of the challenges that always comes up between the genders, one is communication. Like it's said ad nauseum. It's like, oh my God, communication. But one of the fundamental things that people, I think that we misunderstand, or the divine download I've gotten as it relates to that, is that men and women talk for fundamentally different reasons. Right. So everybody talks, and communication is that catchword, but it means something very different to men than it does to women. And that's one of the things that I've discovered. So men talk, and I'll say this all the time, and I'm always looking for what's the formula. So men talk to solve problems. Period. No matter where he is on earth, men, if they're going to talk, they're going to talk because there's a problem that they think needs to be solved. If they're going to talk, right? And it's the frustration of many women. It's like, he doesn't want to talk. It's like, no. Fundamentally, the only reason he's going to talk is because he thinks there's a problem to solve. And that's universal. It happens all the time. But what many people don't recognize is that for women, talking is solving the problem. And so just the very act of her being able to express and to share and have somebody who's interested and paying attention to her is the way that she solves her problems. And so you can imagine why this creates a million arguments around the world. is that because he's like, well, clearly the reason you're talking to me is because you want a solution. And then he goes to give her a solution and that becomes the new argument. Like, so now we're not even fighting about whatever she started talking about. We're now fighting about the fact that you're trying to help her solve the problem that she's like, just listen to me. And so, so that's one that's classic. And so I teach people all the time, whether it's in my relationship development sessions, my master classes, about the topic is learning how to communicate in the way that the other person needs.
Yeah.
So that you help them.
Yeah, because my wife says all the time, I'm not looking for an answer.
Yeah, and men are like, then what are you talking for? So why'd you bring this up? And it's just, so why are you having this discussion? And like I said, across the board. And once I recognized that small distinction, it was like, oh, then it becomes clear that you can say, hey guys, listening is solving the problem. Because men need to feel like they're doing something, no matter what it is. Like you need to feel like you're like putting points on a board, this imaginary board that all men walk around with in their head.
The problem knocked out.
Yeah, he needs to feel like he's winning. And so I tell women all the time, it's like, if you're going to talk to your man and you have this undivided attention, then you need to show him how he's going to win in this moment. Even if winning means he listens to you and you appreciate him and thank him for that. So that's probably, like I said, communication is a top one. I think the other piece that many people don't, opposites attract, and most people believe that means like you're a morning person, I'm a night person. It's like that might be a factor, but more often than not, that's going to cause challenges in your relationship than not if you're drastically different. But it's recognizing that masculinity and femininity are the opposites that tend to attract. And so one of the challenges that's coming up in the world is the whole notion of, women are now, doing their thing, and we're powerful, we're powerhouses. And sometimes when we show up in our relationships, we struggle to make connections because, again, that whole like, go get it, make it happen, is a very masculine trait. Yeah. And both people have masculine and feminine energy. And so it's just knowing how to connect to your feminine. Especially if you're dealing with a masculine man, in order to create and sustain that attraction. And so that's one of the other ones that comes up a lot. And then of course money. So
we had a great dialogue on Sunday about that. You guys do me a huge favor. If you're checking us out on Facebook and you just joined the show, go ahead and share the stream. This is a wonderful topic for us to be discussing this morning. You said a few interesting things there. One, I know that even when we as men talk to solve problems, and women talk because they're just talking through their problems and they just need somebody to hear to talk through. They don't want no feedback. They just want to, I've learned. Yes, gotcha. That is amazing. Yeah, I agree. You really?
Right. Really? What you think about that? How are you going to fix it? Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So I learned that. But the dialogue about, let's go and turn the conversation just a slight difference, because we talked about in the world, there is a significant push for especially our Black women to be heads. And I think a lot of brothers are dealing with, especially in the single realm and sometimes in the married realm early on after the honeymoon phase is over, they're dealing with this struggle of who's going to run the household and who's going to be in charge, who's going to submit to whom, and all of that stuff. So I did a show yesterday and we talked about the definition of power is when someone can define your existence and then have you take on that definition as if it is your own. So I think the society has defined our Black women as this strong single Black woman who don't need nothing, who is Miss Independence. And now she is walking in that definition as if she created that herself. And now there's a challenge with her finding a man who needs someone to be not so much submissive, but someone to need him.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a big problem. Touch on that from a societal standpoint and even a global standpoint, because you've probably seen this around the world as well.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect one. And so one of them I tell people, it's like the strong Black woman syndrome has to die, and has to die quickly if we're going to continue to build amazing relationships. Because again, the small insidious thing that happened with that is just this very much so this idea. Because again, there's nothing wrong with inherently being able to take care of yourself. There's nothing wrong. As a matter of fact, that's attractive. That's not that's not a liability to anybody. There's nothing wrong with being able to think for yourself. Like I said, because again, women have come through a lot in this country and around the world, like, I mean, for that matter, and not being able to control her own agency, or having somebody direct to her how she will think and move and has power over her. And so that's not the end goal. But this notion, the subtlety of the notion of I don't need anyone, and this mantra of the way that we train many sisters, like I said, to no fault of her own. So her mama taught her to not need a man. Her daddy taught her not to need a man. Her uncles taught her not to need a man. And what that creates for you then is that then when you show up with a man who you're trying to attract or be, you believe that to need him or to rely on him is now suggesting to you that you failed.
Exactly.
To live up to the expectations of those people that you respected. And so one of the things I did again years ago, and I remember, because again, that whole independent Black woman mindset usually is a single mindset. Like, people don't realize this. Like, you've been trained to be single with that mindset, because you can't be in a relationship and simultaneously tell a man you don't need him. That does not work. It has never worked, and it will not work unless it's the kind of man who is interested in being taken care of by a woman. He is fine with that. But the man that most powerhouse women desire and deserve absolutely need to be needed by him. But that need has nothing to do with necessarily financial requirements or anything. He needs to know that he can win in her life. And so what I teach women, and like I said, the thing I had to learn myself is this idea of there's a difference between being extremely capable and being independent. And so now, so I don't define myself independent at any level. So I tell people, it's like, I'm a highly capable sister though, right? So I'm capable of leading. I'm capable of supporting. I'm capable of following. I'm capable of making money. I'm capable of spending your money if that is important to, important to you, right? And so it's capability gives you more freedom. Whereas independence only has one definition, and it's very, very limiting. I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening here as a whole, but that's one of the things that, that teach me, like I said. And what I find is interesting is when I travel around the globe, because again, like I said, it's very much so a thing that America has this like independence, you don't need anybody thing. That's pretty unique to us in European countries. In other parts of the world, it's a very understood notion that we need each other, right? And so it's a more common expectation in other parts that I've traveled into, where it's like, no, me being financially sufficient has nothing to do with the fact that I do or do not need and desire a partner to share that with.
That I still need the counterpart that God created for me, just on some fundamental-ish that, hey, this is my counterpart. God said I need this. So yes, this is a given that I need this. But like you said, I'm still a capable woman. I'm still a capable man. And one of the most beautiful and breathtaking things to me on this planet is a confident Black woman. So absolutely, I think most brothers will agree that we don't have a problem with you being extremely capable, but even when you know how to do certain things, my makeup says, let me do it, and then tell me that you appreciate that I've done it.
Absolutely.
And I did it wrong. Right?
Yeah.
You're an engineer. Even if I'm trying to solve a problem, who you as an engineer says, wait a minute, you're going about this backwards. But if I get the job done, even if it's not to your liking, you appreciate that. You've done it. Thank you. That's one less thing off my plate, without saying, I could have done that in 5 minutes. I would have done that, this, that, and the other. Those kinds of things is where women in their independence will have to understand where to bite their tongue, I think, in my opinion, but you're the expert. So you tell me in some of those situations and instances so that I can still feel appreciated and I can still get that win under my belt that I'm seeking, right?
Yeah, no, I think that that's absolutely true. And like I said, it's the balance between again, what's your goal? So again, I tell people all the time, it's not so much that it's right or wrong, right? Because again, like I said, we've made incredible strides, and I think women should continue to make strides because again, having us as a part of the solution for society is absolutely critical. Like we are going to be the reasons that this whole thing turns around. Because again, feminine energy has always been healing. It's always been powerful, always. And so when it comes to again, a man, like I said, to your point of knowing when to say, hey, there's something that needs to be corrected. And I tell people all the time, it's like if life or limb is not involved, then usually what he's trying to do is the best that he can with what he has. And so in the moment, appreciate it. If there's some correction that needs to be made, because again, I'm not in the camp of like pretending things are great when they're not, but there's a way to communicate everything to a man. Because like I said, you guys will usually walk on water for women who make you feel like he's a hero. Because your only goal is to feel like a hero in her eyes. And so it could be like, hey, babe, that was really great. Next time, can we consider this? Or what do you think about this? And so I tell people all the time, there is a way to communicate any and everything you need to anybody. And you just have to be conscious of, again, what's my outcome? Am I trying to hurt him or I'm trying to help him? Right? Because there's one way of saying that that's going to hurt him, even if he doesn't admit to it. And then there's another way that will help you guys together if you recognize what that looks like. And there is like, and for men across the board, it's the same.
I'm gonna give you my wife's secret, ladies, and see if this works for you. And tell me if this is a good strategy on her part, since you're the love engineer.
Do you like it? Is the question.
Yeah, my wife, in 21 years of us been together, she has gotten really, really good at suggestion. So she gets what she wants by making me believe that it was my idea.
Yep.
And it works. It works because and sometimes it takes me 3 or 4 days to figure it out. It's like, oh man, she planted that seed a month ago. But that works for us and making me feel like I've taken charge when she had this whole thing under control all along. And
that's always been the case.
So tell me, is that more of what we're talking about that women should become a master of in order to stroke my ego, still get what you want, but we still keep the relationship moving down the right path?
Yep, it's knowing what the communication style is. And for many people, the art of suggestion is priceless. And so it works on men like a charm. It works on bosses like a charm. It works on anybody like a charm. Actually, it was like, hey, I wonder if da da da. And so some people feel like, well, why can't I just come out directly and say it? And I tell people all the time, it's like, you can. But there are some ways of communicating that are more effective than others. And it just depends on what your goal is. If your goal is, again, to leave him whole and to continue to have him built up as he does what you want to do, because again, there's no worse feeling than to have somebody do something and they're like, oh, I don't want to do it for you. But again, suggestion and having you feel as if, not that you're being directed as much as you are being supported in doing something, it gets you every time. Yeah, and it gets her in game. Yeah, it's like as long as I tell women, like if you get what you need out of it, then by all means, then being able to have several tactics and strategies to be able to get that is what's really important. And then other areas like at work, you might have to be more direct. And I think that's the piece where it's like the model for what you do to succeed in corporate America or at your profession is different than how it works at home, usually with your man.
Yeah. And that's critically important. So I want to jump to something else you said a couple statements back. And I have championed this for a long time, is you talked about the absence of the feminine energy in society, especially here in the American society. And what we have to get to is the fact that there is a such thing as duality. There should be in equal parts the feminine energy and the masculine energy in everything that we're doing. But because we are upside down in that, the world and the legislation and all the rules and the direction has been masculine dominated so long, every time a situation gets fixed, it's fixed by a woman, because we haven't figured out that, hey, if we just balance this thing out, we golden just forever. But as long as you keep one too much of anything is dangerous, right? And I think for the last 300-400 years have been too much of a male-dominated masculine society. I think one of the things that you saw the last 8 years is a female energy infusion in the White House that made some subtle differences with the character of former President Barack and how he looked at things and how the world perceived America, right? So talk about the feminine energy from a power structure matrix in America and how that off balance is really derailing everything that we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, no, I think that's it. I mean, you said it. That's exactly what it is. Again, for there to be an opposite, there has to be balance. And so we've prided ourselves. And I was in Egypt last summer, and again, where this whole thing like became really, really clear because in the African spiritual principles, they believe for there to be a god, there must be a goddess.
Yes. Yeah.
And in the Western societies, when they decided to do religion, they took out the goddess principle and just made it masculine. As again, which in many principles that they did, they took out the other parts of it with a very clear message to suggest that one was better than the other. And so similarly, we've set up businesses where it's all masculine. But your wife can get a whole lot more done than you ever could. It's a fact. And so I don't even know her that well. But we think about things differently. We see the world differently. And as a result of that, our ability to help solve problems, because the way we attack them are just fundamentally different. And you need as many perspectives as you possibly can in order to get to the best solution. Right. Exactly. And so feminine energy, we've linked femininity and weakness together. And so therefore, a lot of women push against being feminine, not realizing, I tell people all the time, there's no accident that is father time and mother nature. Mother Nature is the most powerful force you got. So I don't care what time it is. If the storm is coming through, I will stop your whole world.
Exactly.
And similarly, where it's like men, can provide direction and it's, very methodical and it's linear in approach. Feminine energy is not predictable in that regard. So you got this element of surprise, you have this element of cleansing, you have this element of being able to renew, to restore, and to take to a level that it hadn't previously existed just because of the energies. So I believe that
was correct.
We have to continue to balance, appreciate both of those in order for any relationship to be important. So that whole, like, will you submit? Like I said, subconsciously for many people, that means you're underneath someone. And so I tell people all the time, I call it the love 11 principle, where if you take one person, one whole one, and you align it with another one, you get 11.
Right.
And that's the only way that you can get something transformative. And that's what relationships are, is you take one man, one woman, and align them, and it's transformative, as opposed to trying to, 1 + 1 is 2. Nope. If we align ourselves next to each other, what we create in relationship is absolutely astounding and something that neither one of us could create on our own. Exactly.
And I call it God math, because only God can take one whole person and another whole person and make one entity, right? How do you take two whole things and come up with one thing, right? So that's amazing, man. And I love that you said that. I think more women need to hear that society has placed femininity and weakness as synonymous, and they're not.
Nothing could be further from the truth. And like I said, we have to look at society as a whole, because again, they're always pushing a message that is supportive of some structure that may not be supportive of what gives life and what creates that. So again, there is nothing weak about being feminine. There's not, because again, when you think about it, femininity is the thing that influences men across the world. I don't care what position he is in. I don't care what he owns. I don't care how much money he makes. The thing that'll influence any man faster than anything is feminine energy. Whether it's in a little girl, whether it's from a little girl that's coming and she just got to earth and a man like comes to his knees at the sight of a daughter, or whether or not it's the woman that's speaking into his ear, or the woman he decides that he's going to protect. And so we have a lot of power, and we always have. And it's just learning how to embrace and use that energy to continue to heal our world and make them better.
Exactly. Everything we do is for y'all.
Everything.
And I think, because there's a huge subset of women that have allowed us to do the least amount to get the most from you, there's so many of us that are in that position where, hey, if all I got to do is hustle up on a nice car and I can have the nice lady, that's all you're going to get from me is a nice car, right?
Right.
But you guys elevated the standard to get the best from you. I promise you, we meet those standards in a heartbeat globally, the world over, because everything that we ever do is for your attention, for your adoration, and your respect. So let's talk a little bit about entrepreneurship, because this is an entrepreneurial journey for you that has just taken on full time about 8 months ago. But it's something that you've been in. And I want my sisters to know that I talk about being very in tune with your passions and finding a way to profit from those passions so they can lead you to your life's purpose. Yeah. You almost let a six-figure career keep you from pursuing your passions full time. And I know that this is new for you full time, but talk about, I post memes up all the time that say, don't let a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 salary keep you from becoming who you're supposed to become. So you, like me, jumped off that cliff, left a six-figure parachute behind to pursue your passions full time. What was that like? Talk about the thought process that you were in when you were about to make that jump. How long did it take for you to sit, do the double dutch thing? Here I go, going in, no. And then finally you jump. And how has it affected your psyche since?
Yeah, that I still hear, but I'm like, you did walk away from six figures. No, it is still affecting my psyche to this day. No, but the jump took me quite some time, to be honest with you, because again, I know how Dessert and Discussion started. I know how it came to be, and like I said, I went to school and I have a mechanical engineering degree, and so under those circumstances was my vision for my life to talk about relationships, as in ever. Engineers aren't even known for their ability to talk about.
I'm frozen on my side, y'all, but I see she's still going. So,
are you?
Keep going.
Okay. And so one of the things that it took me a while to believe that this could really be a thing that I really could help in, and it finally got to a point where the thing that I thought about most, the thing that I was spending my time and energy on, was the fact that I really wanted to bring Dessert and Discussion, the War on Love, and the Development Institute to the world in a bigger way. And so when it became more painful for me to stay than to go, and not because my job was bad. I worked for one of the best Fortune 500 companies in the world, and I had this great career, but I went to a funeral, and I remember thinking, I was reading somebody's obituary, and it said, she was something, I can't remember what it was, like a manager at some company. And at that moment, I was like, if I died today, they're going to say I was the sourcing manager at General Mills. And the thought of that bothered me. And so I didn't want that to be what ended up on my obituary, more importantly. And that's a little dark, but that's really where my mind went. But then more importantly, this reality of, I'm a woman of faith. And it came down to, was like, if you believe and you trust God like you say you do, and because there's so many more people tied to this vision than just me, because if it was just me, to be frankly, honestly, I'd have kept my job, right? But I knew that what I offered and what I'm doing in this space of relationship development and personal development is designed so that God can have a bigger impact in the world through me. And then it became, it's like, all right, God, then fine. I will let that go, because I totally trust that what's coming or what's in front of me is greater than what I would be leaving behind. And so it has been like that. And so, the first week I was like, what did you just do? But my mom was completely supportive before she left this earth, and my friends and my family, because again, they saw it. And so God continued to give me nods. I call them nods from God, that allowed me to know that the path I was on was the path I'm supposed to be on again, and that you truly can't lose with God. And so no matter what you walk away from, it is an opportunity to walk into some greatness that you have never done before. So it's kind of like your idea of like leaping. It's like you don't ever know what flying is like if you won't leave the cliff.
Yeah.
And so I decided I wanted to see what flying was like.
Yeah, and people heard me on the show joke all the time as entrepreneurs, we don't look before we leap. We just jump, and then we realize we don't know how to fly, and we might have 2 seconds of an oh snap moment, and then it's like, hey, let me figure out how to fly or build a parachute. Either one, this thing is going to work. Period.
Yep.
There is nothing else to think about, right? That's
it has to work.
Or and how we operate. So I love that about you. So now. Talk about some of the things that you have that people can partake in. You got workshops, classes, lecture series, and all of that kind of stuff. So talk about how the entrepreneurial part of what you do, how that all comes to be. How can someone connect with you and retain your services?
Absolutely. So dessertdiscussion.com is where all the magic lives for the business as it comes to relationship development. Like I said, I do personal development through the ALM Development Institute. I go into organizations and talk about, again, leadership and personal development to help them transform companies. But as it relates to dessertdiscussion.com, like, so we have the super cool game. And so I wanted people to be able to have an experience where, again, it's fun, because right now relationship development comes in like therapy or counseling, and I am a fan of therapy and I'm a fan of counseling. However, some of the things that you need to learn to have amazing relationships, you can learn over drinks and a cupcake, to be really honest. And so it doesn't have to be painful. And that's my heart, is to help us, before we get to premarital or pre-divorce counseling, but we're building skills in front of that. And so you can get the War on Love game. Like I said, it's super fun. It's a riot, whether it's date night or game nights. That's exciting. And then I do a ton of relationship development sessions. And so whether it's one-on-one and figuring out how to do, how to date. So I do dating master classes and what I call the Lover NAR that helps men and women understand, again, some of these key foundational things, as well as I've, doing some group coaching and one-on-one coaching that is customized to help, if you're having a challenge or a problem and you want a perspective, right? That if nothing else, as an engineer, that's what I offer. I see it differently. And so sometimes the only reason why we're stuck or we're having challenges is because we keep seeing it the same way, or we keep doing it the same way. And what my gift is being able to give you another way. It's like, hey, have you considered this?
Awesome. So these cards are amazing. I'm not going to answer any of these questions, but I'm going to read some of them just so that you know that these cards, they're called the War on Love, the game. So, for instance, the Ace of Spades says, could you date someone who had a sex change, right? And basically you play this game and it creates dialogue between you and your partner so that you can talk about some things that you probably wanted to ask your partner but had never had the courage to. There would be enough authenticity for them to answer the question truthfully. But when you bring in something like this, it says that, hey, I want this relationship to go to another level. So let's be completely open, honest, and transparent. No judgment. Let's just play this game and have some fun with it. What makes a good woman? What makes a good man? What is the point of marriage? What is the point of commitment? If you could be the opposite sex for one day, what would you do? Wow, what would I do with the power that a woman wields, right? That is, I might answer that one. No, we'll keep going. True or false, couples should have separate bank accounts, right? It's another good one. 3 things you love about the opposite sex. What's the best way to hit on a woman? So this is some cool stuff. Dessertsandiscussion.com is where you can pick this up and get registered for some of our classes and courses and all of that good stuff. But the name of the game makes me want to ask a question. Do you feel that there is a war on love generally?
Yep. So the name of the game is a tongue-in-cheek approach. So you know how we have the war on everything in this country, and it effectively has never eliminated the thing that we've waged war against ever. It actually
worked. War on crime hasn't worked. war, war on terrorism hasn't worked, right?
Nope. All it did was spread the very thing that they waged war against, and it made people more aware of the power of that thing. And because before, most people like wouldn't have heard about it. It was like, oh, because of Dare, I know about drugs, right? I might not have as a kid. And so the war on love is a tongue-in-cheek approach with the expectation that it follows the same logic, is that we will never eliminate love. We will seek to spread it. We will seek the idea that people will become more aware of it, and the fact that we are love, and that, you know, love is the most powerful force on earth, and we go forward. But to answer your question, there is a war on it, and many things in society are attempting to wage it, but I am completely confident that we can win it through discussions, that we can win it through connection, and that we can win it through being, you know, totally transparent and honest about what it is we need and desire in relationships, and then expecting that we will hold ourselves to the standard to get them.
Yes, and I want to take it a slightly different direction. When I thought about war on love, I as part of the Black Wealth movement, what we're trying to do is we're trying to rebuild the Black community one family at a time. And we talk about the war on love. We know that there is a definite war on the Black family because we understand that the family is the cornerstone of nation. And if you can tear up a Black family, you never have to worry about a Black nation. Talk a little bit about that from an engineer's perspective and a love engineer's perspective, because what you do is not just with building amazing relationships between partners becoming intimate, but amazing relationships need to happen between mother and son, father and son, brother and sister, neighbor and neighbor, cousin and cousin, right? So talk about how you can use some of the principles that you teach to really get this Black family back together. And I say back together, it's not like we are separate. That is a myth that's put out there because they know if you tell a lie long enough and loud enough, it becomes true. They want us to believe in that the Black family is splintered, but it's not. But talk about how we can strengthen the Black family using some of these tools.
Yeah, no, that's exactly the point, because again, I tell people, so the obvious goal is amazing relationships. The underlying goal is to ensure that we can sustain, develop, and forever ensure the longevity of our community as a people. And so, and family and relationships are the way we do that. And so one of the ways that the thing that it does, again, if you can start having open and honest dialogue where it's like, this is my truth and it's not right or wrong, it's just honest or dishonest. And so as we start encouraging people to walk in their truth, then it allows you to trust in and to let other people walk in their truth. I tell people all the time, it's like many people say, well, I don't know if I can trust people. It's like, no, it's not that you can't trust people. You don't trust you. And so many people don't realize is that the way we show up for ourselves is the way we show up in our relationships. And so as we heal personally, as we heal in partnership, then every other relationship that we're involved in works. And so, you know, honest communication, saying what you mean, being able to handle conflict, because again, these things are going to happen no matter what it is. The most amazing relationship, there is conflict. There has to be. That's how you grow. That's how you learn. There has to be some challenges involved. And so being able to have the skills and to be equipped with skills that allow you to effectively handle those situations and to come out on the other side in a better place, that works in your intimate relationship. It works in your career. It works in your business. It works in the community. It works at church. Because again, everything we do is about relationships. As a matter of fact, the quality of our life, as Tony Robbins says, is a direct reflection of the quality of our relationships. And so when people are having poor qualities of life, I can look at, it's like, tell me what your relationships look like. And they also are probably pretty poor. But as we get the skills to have amazing relationships on any level, you have the skills to have amazing relationships on every level.
I certainly agree with that. So a lot of times we look at personal growth and self-development as just for me, the individual that's doing that. But I do a lot of personal growth and self-development, but I know that is for everybody around me as well, because as I change my perspective and my outlook on things, my expectations of those around me change. And oftentimes you get what you expect.
Absolutely. Every single time. And I tell people all the time, as you get better, everybody's like, I want to change the world. I was like, well, if you get better, the whole world just got better in an instant.
Yeah, that is powerful. And I think we miss that from a practical standpoint, because I know a lot of times people think about personal growth and self-development only when they need to improve in business or only when they need to improve their marriage, will they try to go through something. But it's like, no, if you're constantly doing that, if that's just part of your regimen, that today I want to be better than I was yesterday. I want to understand some different truths that I didn't understand yesterday, because as I go through that and get to those different places, it will change my perspective and how I see the world. And that, like you said, changes the world when I change how I see it. So tell us again how they can get in touch with you and everything that you got going on. Do you have any events coming up that we can plug into in the near future? What's going on with Dessert and Discussion?
Yep. So there is a live event coming up. So if you're in the Twin Cities area with this very fun game, we just created an event called Speed Gaming. It's a fun twist on speed dating. So it's allowing, again, people to meet. So if you're in the Twin Cities area on August 13th, that event is coming up. You can visit us at desertanddiscussion.com. That's 2 S's in dessert. And we will have additional events coming up. And so Dessert and Discussion live events, there are a couple coming up here in the fall. And there will be some coming up in the South a little later on. So desertanddiscussion.com is where you can find that. And we have a dating masterclass coming up here in another couple of weeks. And so you can get on board with that. So like us on Facebook at Dessert and Discussion, follow us at Instagram at Dessert and Discussion, like I said, and then keep track with us on desertanddiscussion.com.
Awesome. Awesome. So really quickly, I always want my phenomenal female entrepreneurs to give my phenomenal female followers some tips on following their passions. And what would you say were the top 3, 4, maybe 5 things that you did to start to build this awesome brand and turn Dessert and Discussions and Love Engineering into a business, right? Versus just, hey, this is just something I do. This is just something I like to talk about. I think it's a cool topic. No, you turn this into an entrepreneurial endeavor. So talk about, 3, 4, 5 things that you did and you put in place to really turn your passion into a profit mechanism.
Absolutely. First of all, it's just get started. That's the big thing. So like I said, this started in my living room with 7 people watching a DVD. And so it's just start. And, because oftentimes we need everything done, and I need a trademark, and I need an attorney and all this stuff. And if you can talk yourself out of going forward really fast, just start where you are, knowing that you can build it as you go forward, as I tell people. So get started. That's the first thing. 2 is trust and believe in you. Like we are way more powerful than we've been ever taught to think. If you have succeeded in anything, it means you can succeed in just about anything, right? So it's knowing that the skills and the way that you figured out how to be great on your career and your job, also can transport over into your passion. And many times we don't believe or we don't trust in ourselves enough for that, because again, we believe you got to go to school, get a job, right? Because that's what people taught us. But the reality is that the thing that keeps calling you will not stop calling you, actually. And you have to be willing to answer that call. And at the same time, recognizing what it is that you really want. That's probably the third thing I would say is know what you want. Everybody's not built to necessarily be an entrepreneur in the format that we are entrepreneurs, right? So I think you can perfectly, if you can build them side by side and you can do what you love and keep your job, then by all means do that until you cannot. And so because that was my thing. This started in 2009 and I just recently left. And so there's no rush to quit something just to say you did it, but know what you need. And so, because I didn't leave until I had a year's worth of expenses saved up. I'm not uncomfortable. I'm not comfortable with just being out there and figuring out where I'm going to eat tomorrow. I like comfort. So know what you need, know what your tolerances are, and be willing to do whatever it takes to get to that point. The other one is don't believe you have to do it by your help. Like I said, abandon the strong Black woman. I need to be independent. I can't take any help. Absolutely not. Get all the help, resources, and support that you need. There are people around you who want to see you win, and they will help you win, in fact. And so rely on those people, trust those people, and always know that you have the final say. This is your life. And at the end of the day, you will have to be the person that looks in the mirror and feel good about whether or not you did it or you didn't do it. And only you will know that, because I've seen many people who are in these high power positions, and I was climbing, right? So I was going to make it to the top. I knew that if I got there and didn't go for this, I wouldn't be happy with me. Always always bank on you are the person that needs to be happy with you, no matter what it looks like to everybody else. And so that would be one. And then the fifth one being is always continue to grow.
Yes.
Is there something to know? There's something to learn. And if you become a student of life, is what I call it, just a student of life, whether that's books, whether that's the art, whether it's just talking to strangers, it doesn't matter. You can learn from anyone. But if you're willing to continue to grow and to connect, one of the things you'll find is you'll have more inputs when you're trying to solve the challenges that will inevitably come up in your business, in your relationships, or in your career.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that. And I can't remember if it was Jim Rohn who said this quote, but he says, everybody will choose one of two pains, either the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. So I heard you say, don't, that thing is going to continue to call you. And if you don't answer that call, you're going to be 65, 70 years old, and you have chosen for yourself the pain of regret.
That's
Man, I shoulda, coulda, woulda done this. My life coulda, shoulda, woulda been this way had I chosen that parallel path.
Yeah.
That is amazing, and I'm glad you dropped that on us. So dessertandiscussions.com is where you can go and find the War on Love, the game. It is a phenomenally fun game to play. Creates real dialogue, and even someone like myself, my wife and I have been together for 21 years. We still are learning each other. We still are getting to know, because believe it or not, in 21 years, there are still some things in her that she has yet to reveal to me for whatever reason, some things in me that I've yet to reveal to her, but we're still constantly growing together. And it seems like that wouldn't be the case. It's like, come on, you've been around each other all this time. Clearly, surely you've talked about every single little thing in your life.
No, not at all. Not at all.
It takes 2 or 3 lifetimes, man, to really get through all of that stuff and to get comfortable. And so I appreciate you for being on the show this morning. I certainly learned a lot. I think our listeners have learned a lot as well. Any questions for the Love Engineer? We got time for 1 or 2 questions. Anybody got a question for the Love Engineer before we let her go this morning? Let's see. We have one. Did world travel play a part in your outlook to take this leap of faith? Did world travel play a part in your outlook to take this leap of faith?
Absolutely, recognizing that, and I've been fortunate, like I said, to study in England when I was in college, and like I said, and from that point forward, that's where that bug caught on. But what travel I think does for anybody is that, again, it helps you see the world differently. And it also helps you see the similarities in the world, because everybody thinks their issue is just that, is their issue. And then you start to get out into the world and you realize that we're more similar than we're not. And there are people who are making it in this world who have less talent, less skill, less resources than I had done. And I'll never forget a little boy. I met him in Uganda, and his name is Sam. And like I said, I'm going to try not to tear it, because it's probably the thing that started this fire in me and this commitment to following through. Sam is this little boy, was at an orphanage, and we're walking through it. And I'm like, oh my, I'm American. So I'm like, we're here to help, right? And not realizing that this little boy would change my life. And so we're walking through it. He runs up to me and he is like, hey, what's your name? And I tell him my name. And Sam says, very next question was, what's your dream? Not how are you, not where you're from. He said, what's your dream? And in that moment, I was afraid to tell Sam what my dream was, because I had already started a certain discussion at this point, but I was afraid to tell him that what I really wanted to do was figure out how to help people build amazing relationships, because I didn't want to be judged. Now, mind you, this boy is probably 8 or 9 years old.
Wow.
And he saw me stop, and I couldn't even come up with an answer for Sam. And then he was like, oh, let me tell you my dream, right? Because he's like, let me give you some time to think. And then he goes on to share with me how he wanted to be on TV like Oprah. He had an American Dare shirt, and again, which is why I remember it so vividly, because here's this little boy with no shoes in an orphanage in the middle of Uganda. And he's like, let me tell you about my dreams, and let me tell you my plans to get there. And so I fully expect him to achieve it. And in that moment, I remember thinking, how dare you? How dare you have the opportunity? How dare you have the resources? How dare you have everything that you possibly could need to bring your dream to life, and you not go for it? And
Wow.
so that was the part of my world travel that literally shifted my whole thing. So that was like, if I ever run into Sam again, I wanted to be able to tell that little boy that I went for my dream.
Awesome. Awesome. So you have been listening to and learning from Alex Merritt, Love Engineer. And I see that you just got that phrase copywritten. So congratulations on getting that
Yay.
part done. So now you own the Love Engineer.
Yeah.
I am Alex Merritt, the one and only financial health mentor to the Black community. Guys, this was fun for me. Hopefully it was equally as fun for you guys.
Thank you.
So Alex, stay on for a couple more minutes as we end the show. But until
Okay.
we talk to you next time, we want you to get your money up because you absolutely can do it. Peace out, y'all.
Thank you.